John Jastremski, the great New York show on Ringer, the best podcast in the world. JJ, good to see you as always. I was talking about the Mets earlier on the show and how tough I think they are. I'm a Yankee fan. Like, I go Pirates, Yankees, that's my thing. And I don't like the Mets, but I respect them. I think they're tough. I think they got bats. I think they got some level of pitching. And I just don't think you want to run into them in the playoffs as a wild card. That is not a lineup that you're going to have fun pitching to. Do you respect that Mets team and how dangerous they've started looking in terms of the playoffs?
Well, I think you have to, Scotty, considering they started off the year 0-6. They were double-digit games under the 500 mark, and they played brilliantly in June and kind of put themselves in a position to be in position. Now, I'd be a little concerned about the bats since the All-Star break. They've been very feast or famine. You see them go score 10, 11 runs, and then you see them score 1 or 2 runs. They had that terrible series against Anaheim. Give them a lot of credit. They had to fly to St. Louis. Weird travel, bizarre situation, and you get the brilliant game out of Sean Manaea. You're going to Colorado this week. Scotty, with the schedule they have coming up at the end of this month, where they're going to get San Diego, where they're going to get Arizona, you can't mess around with a team like the Colorado Rockies. You got to score consistently in these games, and I think that will be the determining factor in whether or not the Mets are a playoff team. I don't love their rotation. It's just not deep enough. Their bullpen kind of is what it is. Can they do it consistently offensively? Not even to the level they were in June, but close to that. If the answer is yes, I think they're playing playoff baseball.
So I'm seeing the Pirates are seeing this Padre team right now, and they're playing great, and they got that bullpen all locked up at the deadline with moves Preller made. We were just talking, Joe Ranieri and I, about how they're 5 out now of the division with the Dodgers. They're creeping, and then they're in the thick of the wild card. That's a dangerous baseball team as well.
No question. And look at their schedule, Scotty. They got one of the softest schedules over the final 7 weeks of the year, to the point where I think they can flirt with the idea of chasing down the Dodgers. Now, for what it's worth, I don't think they will. I think the Dodgers will get some guys back. They'll be fine. Remember, Mookie Betts on the horizon in the next few weeks. But you're right. Preller is like a drunken seller at the trade deadline. He's like the Rams. He doesn't care about draft picks. They don't care about picks. He doesn't care about prospects. He trades them every single year. Their bullpen is stacked. I like what they have in the rotation led by Dylan Cease. And you got to figure with their schedule being as easy as it is, San Diego, I think, slots in to be one of those 3 as far as wild cards are concerned.
And how do you feel about the Yankees tied with the Orioles, the way they've looked since they got Jazz and they started winning some series? They started playing good ball and taking series back-to-back, the Phillies series. What do you think of the way they're turning the corner?
Scotty, nobody was more down on the Yankees, maybe aside from our pal Mike Carver. But aside from Mike Carver, me, right? Like, they were disastrous for about 7 or 8 weeks. They had one of the worst records in the American League from Father's Day until the end of July. But that Boston Saturday night win, down to their last strike, getting the big game-tying hit from Grisham and winning that game, it kind of has been a springboard for them since. They've won 3 consecutive series. You mentioned the idea of getting Jazz Chisholm and kind of lengthening out the lineup, and the fact that their young guys are finally giving them a boost. Austin Wells has played really well. Volpe, who was kind of symbolic for the Yankees season as a whole, because when they were going great in April, he was going great. When they stunk up the joint, he stunk up the joint. And since he's been hitting again down at the bottom of the order, not putting as much pressure on him, all of a sudden the Yankees have taken off. You need guys other than Judge and Soto to go and complement this lineup. But I think the fact that the Yankees survived this nightmarish stretch from June into July, Scotty, I thought the Orioles would be more aggressive at the deadline. I don't love what I've seen from them over the last few weeks. And I kind of think it's there for the taking. I think the Yankees at this point in time are going to find a way to win the American League East, which is something, by the way, I wouldn't have said a month ago. No chance.
When you are doing Ringer and doing New York, what's the hype like on the football now that it's back? We saw the Giants fighting in camp with the Lions. And we've seen the bottom line is all they talk about is Aaron Rodgers when they talk about the Jets. But we've heard all the hype about their defense and that they're going to win the East and that they're a Super Bowl contender and all this other rhetoric. What's the football talk like on New York, New York these days?
Well, Scotty, it feels like deja vu all over again with the Jets, right? Because I wondered if Jet fans, after what happened a year ago with Rodgers going down, 4 plays into the year, would be able to hype it up going into another year. Well, they've done exactly that, because all of the Jet fans in my life are thinking about a deep run in January. They're thinking about winning the AFC East. And listen, I think on paper, there's a lot to like. I think the offensive line has improved. You mentioned it. There's a lot of talent on the defense, but you got a 41-year-old quarterback. I know he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Torn Achilles, wasn't great 2 years ago. There are questions about Aaron Rodgers. I also think there are bigger questions about their head coach, who I simply don't trust. I'm sorry. You want to tell me Robert Saleh had Zach Wilson, or is that this guy, is that that guy? You watch him coach games week in and week out. I'm sorry. So far, he has left a whole lot to be desired. I think the AFC East has a chance to have 3 playoff teams. I think Buffalo with Josh Allen has the best quarterback in the division. Miami, I think they have the best coach in the division, and they got a whole lot of speed. Listen, nobody's talking about the Dolphins, but I think all 3 go to the playoffs. A lot of questions with the Jets. Giants flying under the radar. Everyone gushing over Neighbors, gushing over Burns. Total at 6.5, though, Scotty. Listen, Giants go win 8 games. Dable's going to have to coach his rear end off.
20 seconds. I love your Dolphins. I think they're the sleeper in that East.
I think they can be if they figure out how to replace Christian Wilkins. The offense will be there. Questions about cold weather is going to be there. Can the Dolphins replace Wilkins and Van Ginkel, who was so good for them a year ago?